I always felt she was on pills. You know, she had those kind of mood swings, and I never felt, except for very rare intervals, that, you know, there was a normal, healthy person there.
Tuesday, May 8th, the entire company shut down, declaring they had run out of scenes to shoot without Monroe. 2 days later, on Thursday, May 10th, it was stated in the daily production report that Marilyn's presence was required for the rest of the script. The star had only worked 2 days, and the show was 5.5 days behind schedule. Studio executives began to worry. They couldn't afford to lose money on Something's Got to Give. Fox needed this film in theaters by October in order to help make up for the mounting debt caused by Cleopatra bills. In Rome, these same executives were handling Elizabeth Taylor with kid gloves, though her own off-screen behavior and frequent illnesses had created huge delays and extravagant expenses. But back in Hollywood, the studio's patience with Marilyn was wearing thin.
I'm sure they had been through this many, many times with Marilyn. I don't think it was the first time. So they knew what to expect, actually, like Cukor did. He really knew what to expect.
There's a lot riding on the project. She certainly had the biggest power of all, which was whether to show up or not.
The fourth week of production rolled by, and Marilyn had completed only a few days of work. Many key scenes were shot in her absence, including entire sequences with the children.
446. And Kathleen and Michael went to the ponies. My horse bit. You don't have a horse. She doesn't have a horse.
That was good, except you didn't grab it early enough. Huh?
Child actors Alexandra Heilweil and Christopher Morley had a difficult time remembering their dialogue and staying focused. Cukor shot take after take with the children, occasionally losing his patience.
Watch me to be surprised. Leave that alone. Come on now, watch me.
498. Speed.
Let's do it once more. Huh? Once more. That was very good without cutting.
There
That was
isn't
very good.
any
Come on.
pain.
Never mind. Come on, boys. Come on.
All
Leave
right.
it alone. Now watch me walk away. Let's do it once more. Alexander, stop fussing with that, will you please? And watch me.
On May 14th, Marilyn made her third appearance on the set. She was put to work opposite a very uncooperative dog and a very frustrated trainer.
I start like
382.
Hey, Jeff. Jeff, watch it. Jeff, speak. Jeff, speak. Speak. Speak for us. Come on, speak. Jeff, come on up here. Jeff, come on, Jeff. Here, watch it.
Performing a welcome home scene over and over, it was the dog, not Monroe, who repeatedly missed cues and required take after take.
Come on. Come on, Jeff. Here, Jeff. Speak for us. Speak. 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 Come on, Jeff. Get it. Speak. That's the boy. Here, Jeff.
well,
I used to come here a long time ago.
if he's out of...
Jeff, Jeff, come here. Come on. Get in here. Now stay right there. Jeff, speak. Jeff, speak. Come on, Jeff. Speak, speak. Come on here, boy. Come on, speak. Watch it. Speak. Speak for us. Speak. Speak. Speak.
Animals are never cooperative, except in rehearsals. A dog will react to a trainer perfectly, all through the rehearsals. But the minute they hear a director say action, the animal knows that they can get away with anything. But I remember the poor animal trainer trying to get it working.
Well, I mean, we had her finally on the set. I mean, there were more interesting things you could do with Marilyn than shoot that dog. I just thought it was a waste. A terrible waste.
The next 2 days rolled by without incident. Monroe showed up ready to work with her $5,000 a week acting coach Paula Strasberg in tow. Cukor finally had Marilyn present on the soundstage, but he could not command her undivided attention.
You know, she was upstairs with her coach, with Paula, and she wouldn't come down if she didn't feel like she was ready for the scene, or she wouldn't come down. I think she had a lot of psychological problems.
Marilyn had relied on Paula Strasberg's guidance during the production of her last 5 films. Paula had gained a reputation for quietly usurping any director's control over the star. a manner of working that made her universally unpopular on the set.
She was heavier than I am. She wore these black capes. She looked like Dracula's assistant. And she indulged Marilyn in all of this whims. You can't treat her this way. She's a great Hollywood star.
Marilyn would look over to her for encouragement and for what to do. It was insidious, and I think it hurt her very much.
Every time she had to do something, she had to get Paula to tell her. Like we were doing the scene where Marilyn was supposed to walk down the steps near the swimming pool.
Marilyn went up and down the stairs 10 or 12 times, and every time she would go up the stair, she would look at Paula, and if Paula said no, then she had to do it again. And I could see George just fuming and fuming and fuming.
Cukor hated her. Really hated her. I don't think they helped her at all. I think they just pumped her up full of lots of stuff so they could use her.
But Paula Strasberg was not the only strong female in Monroe's entourage. Marilyn's publicist Pat Newcomb was also a presence in the actress's life.
Pat Newcomb took control of Marilyn. Between Pat Newcomb and Paula Strasberg, Marilyn she was like a caged animal. Nobody could get near her. Even if George Cukor wanted to talk to her, you had to go through Pat Newcomb.
Marilyn's distracted moods during Something's Gotta Give were also the result of a chaotic romantic life. Rumors flew about a flirtation with President John F. Kennedy and a more intense personal relationship with his younger brother, Bobby, who also happened to be the U.S. Attorney General.
Well, over a period of time, I was not at all surprised that the Kennedys were a very important part of Marilyn's life. And so that I was I wasn't included in this information, but I was a witness to what was happening.
I get a call from Marilyn one day. She says, I'm going to have a date with a very important man. And I really would like to know what questions to ask. I said, Marilyn, well, who's the person I got to know? She says, it's Bobby Kennedy. So I said, we're right in the middle of the civil rights situation. Ask him why he's not being more supportive of Martin Luther King. What are they doing to calm down these riots? She says, well, how do I know which question? He says, it depends on his answer. So I said, well, let's rehearse. Give me the question, answer, and then the next question. We did that. A couple of days later, she says, I have another date. I said, well, how did the date go? She said, oh, it went very well. I said, now it could be more personal. And I don't hear from her for a week. So I call up and I said, Marilyn, how's it going? She says, I don't need any more questions.
On May 15th, Marilyn reported to work despite complaining of a fever.
We'd get reports from the psychiatrist, we'd get reports from the producer, and Marilyn had said this, and oh boy, she is coming in tomorrow. And if she did show up, it was like the second coming. Everybody fell down and genuflected.
Following several hours of makeup, Marilyn walked into the glare of the lights. Cukor filmed this scene where, after a long absence, Ellen Arden talks to her children, who fail to recognize her as their mother.
Are you going to stay long?
I don't know yet. Would you like me to?
I don't know where you sleep.
I don't know either yet. But if that could be worked out, would you like me to stay?
I would.
You would?
I wouldn't mind. Don't get me sick. Again, he got you better again.
Yeah.
Okay. As I remember, there was a boy and a little girl, and even before we shot, she went and interacted with them to get them at ease so that she could play with them and everything. I remember that.
It was hard because had her children lived, they would have been the same age as the children she worked with. The children loved her. She played with them. But it was sad. Marilyn wanted children. She wanted them badly.
Marilyn's own childhood had been riddled with painful experiences. Her biological father never recognized her as his own child. Her mother was put into a mental institution, and the young girl endured years of emotional, even sexual abuse while growing up in a series of foster homes. Through her years of stardom, Marilyn had been quite open about her desire to have a child. But after several failed pregnancies, Monroe feared she could never have a baby of her own. After a while, even the sight of children reminded Marilyn of a painful void in her life.
Jimmy, you hurt yourself. Let me go. Jimmy.
Marilyn had now been on the set, eager to work for 3 days in a row. But early on Thursday, May 17th, it was learned that Monroe was going to take time off to attend President Kennedy's birthday gala in New York. Before production had begun, producer Henry Weinstein had given Marilyn his tentative approval. But now he had changed his mind.
Little did I know we were going to miss so many other days. Now the day comes, and she says, now remember, I'm not supposed to shoot on such and such a day. I said, yeah, I do remember, but now we haven't shot an arc. I don't want to shoot. Can't shoot. Then I pick it up. She's going to the president's birthday party. And I said, you're not going to go. I said, you're not going to shoot, but you're not going to go. And no, I'm going to go.
Production reports clearly stated that Marilyn had permission to attend the ball. But behind the scenes, studio head Peter Levathes was imploring her not to go. A week earlier, he had even sent a letter stating, Marilyn, as you know, we are behind schedule with our picture, and we cannot consent to or acquiesce in your absence. But Marilyn's mind was made up, and she headed for New York to perform for the president.
We all knew she was going to go to the president's ball. It was an honor to go to the president's ball. She wasn't the only one that was invited. There were many, and she had permission.
Fox executives were livid.
She just didn't have any sense of responsibility or any respect for them, had no feeling for them, and they just suddenly, I think, moved away from a professional evaluation to a personal snit.
It was no big red letter day one way or the other to the crew, just one more episode. But Cukor took it quite personally.
The incident marked a significant turning point on the set of Something's Got to Give. On Monday, May 21st, Monroe reported to work and let Cukor know that close-ups were out of the question. No amount of makeup could hide her fatigue.
When you're there, you just feel it as manipulation, like the crew felt. You know, you were trying to do your best work, and here was this person, you know, kind of pissing on it.
Matters were only made worse the following day, when Marilyn had a fresh reason to postpone shooting. Dean Martin reported to work in spite of a cold and fever. For the next 3 days, Monroe refused to work with Martin for fear of catching his cold. Cukor was forced to shoot these close-ups, heavily filtered to conceal the actress's exhaustion.
Okay. Rolling? Yeah. Okay.
496.
Tensions mounted on the set, and Marilyn began to lose the support from the crew she had come to depend on. But everyone was prepared to forgive Monroe's behavior when word leaked out that she would be filming a nude swim scene on May 23rd. The first ever by a major American actress.
500.
Come on in. The water's so refreshing.
It was like panic. I mean, horror of excitement, people running back and forth.
501.
Everybody was kicked off the set, including me. I'd never been off the set in my life with Cukor, but Marilyn wanted everybody off.
Only the illusion of skinny dipping was planned, but Marilyn took things a step further.
We had a bodysuit for her, where you look nude in the water. And after 2-3 takes, she just tore it off and did it without anything else there.
502. 504.
Marilyn posed provocatively on the edge of the swimming pool and made the world take note that she still had a gorgeous body. Marilyn seemed inspired by the scene and by the presence on set of her favorite still photographers. Once again, she was in front of the kind of camera that had fallen in love with her face and her figure years before.
When it was all over, she said, well, this is knocking Elizabeth Taylor off the cover of all the magazines. And indeed, she was. That picture was on the cover of every magazine you can think of.
But even if the temperature in the pool didn't rise, optimism at Fox did. The scene was extraordinary, and Monroe had now been on the set for a solid week without interruption. On Friday, May 25th, Marilyn left the studio looking happier than she had in weeks. But that weekend, she disappeared. No one heard from her for 2 whole days.
I couldn't understand what happened that weekend. That's what, to me, it's the big personal mystery. You know, because she left feeling great now. It was all over again. Maybe she had a disappointing affair.
Some speculated that Monroe's rumored affair with Attorney General Bobby Kennedy was at fault.
People think it's ridiculous that she thought that she could be First Lady. But when you stop to think of whoever would have thought she could have married the greatest baseball player ever, and she did, or the greatest author, one of the great American authors, and she did, in Marilyn's mind, she could do all these things.
But whatever Marilyn needed to get back on track with her role in Something's Got to Give, no one on or off the set seemed to have the solution. On Monday, May 28th, Marilyn called in sick again. Production reports that once stated Marilyn Monroe ill now reported company did not shoot due to Miss Monroe's inability to report for work. The following day, Marilyn showed up to the set, but she seemed to lack focus in this scene where husband Nick Arden implies Ellen was unfaithful during her absence.
All right, Kim.
Adam and Eve.
I was afraid you'd misunderstand about that.
Oh, what's to misunderstand? A man's wife spends 5 years on an island with a strange man.
Would you like it any better if I knew him?
And it slips her mind?
Can we start again?
Yeah.
All you can think about is the way I behaved with this poor little... Okay.
With this poor little fly.
All you can think of is how I behaved with a poor little man who wouldn't harm a fly.
Yeah, one more. That was good, though, huh?
I mean, how long does it take to tell a woman my wife's back? It takes me 2 seconds. It's taken... You've had 2 days. Sorry, George, but we can do it.
At 5 p.m., the company stopped shooting due to Marilyn's complaints of exhaustion. The film was now 11 days behind schedule. On May 31st, the actress's raw nerves were noticeably close to the surface during the filming of this sequence opposite Wally Cox. Here she uses her feminine wiles to convince a naive shoe salesman to pose as the man with whom she spent 5 years on the island.
Would you have lunch with me?
I bring my lunch to the store.
I'd be so grateful if you'd take it out. Are you free for lunch?
No, the fact is, inferior footwear is made from them. The crocodiles themselves don't make...
Would you have lunch with me?
I bring my lunch to the store.
My foot's grown. Go barefoot for 5 years. Gee.
Good.
On Friday, June 1st, Marilyn Monroe turned 36. A watershed year for any actress, but especially one noted for her beauty and sexuality.
I think she realized, I'm going to be 36. Then I'll be 37, 38, and there's a lot of new girls coming along that could replace me.
699.
Speed. Camera.
But whatever concerns Marilyn harbored about her age, she kept to herself that day, and without mishap, shot this scene with Wally Cox and Dean Martin.
677.
By 9:37 a.m., cameras were rolling.
Eve said you had some questions you wanted to ask me. Nick?
Oh, he has. Ask him. Ask him anything.
Oh, well, let me see. What kind of an island was it?
An ordinary island, wouldn't you say?
Like the rest.
Small island?
Not small. Not large.
Medium.
Oh, trees, yes.
No vines.
Well, yes, vines, too.
Water?
Yes, all around.
That's the nice thing about Stephen. He doesn't talk your ear off.
I suppose you lived in tree houses?
Well,
Hot.